This is Marketing Jam, a podcast featuring the brightest minds in Canadian marketing.
Marketing Jam is brought to you by Cyber Impact, the email marketing platform made specifically for Canadian small businesses. Go to cyberimpact.com/jelly, create a free account, and start sending CASL-compliant promotional emails in just a few clicks.
Okay. So why don't we start with your name, the role at your company, and the brand that you're with.
Okay, my name's Jon Brock, and I'm the Executive Director of Sponsorships and Partnerships at WorldGaming.
Okay, and WorldGaming, who does that work with, or tell me more about WorldGaming. What is that?
WorldGaming is a subsidiary of Cineplex. It's a wholly owned Cineplex company. It's been around for about 10 years. Originally, it was based on online competitive head-to-head play for video games.
Yep.
So our user base, our users would come to the platform. They would link up through our social platform, and they would essentially play each other online in a variety of different sports games.
Yep.
Specifically, in the last few years, since Cineplex acquired our business, we've essentially used the WorldGaming platform to fuel our nationally acclaimed program known as the Canadian Championship Series, which is essentially it's not a pro circuit. Our objective is to essentially inspire the aspiring gamer. We want to nurture amateur gamers, whether as individuals or as teams, to essentially grow into being a global professional team or individual. So we create a platform in order to do that. The WorldGaming platform that was purchased by Cineplex fuels that live event platform, and they work together cohesively. So we run more than quarterly events right now across a variety of genres, and we classify them as our Canadian Championship Series. So you're talking about shooters like Call of Duty, driving games like GT Sport, more youth-oriented sports games like Rocket League, CSGO, the traditional PC games. We have a fighting series coming up known as Northern Fights. It includes Street Fighter V, Tekken, Dragon Ball Z, hopefully Super Smash. So a variety of games. And gamers will enter our platform, enter our events. They'll compete in a series of qualifiers over the course of several weeks.
At Cineplex?
Online.
Online, yep.
Online, with the exception of the fighting series. We do all of those qualifiers as local LAN events because gamers don't like lag, and fighting games require zero lag. So once you qualify, if you qualify through the qualifying stage, you then enter the playoffs, and then from there, the top 8 players, 16 players, 32 players, or 8 teams would then get an all-expenses trip to the national championship, where we broadcast that 3-day event live on Twitch. And the Call of Duty event that we just did this past weekend garnered close to 1 million viewers over the course of 2 days. So it was quite a successful program, and by far the greatest media exposure that we've provided for ourselves and for our clients. Wow.
Do you ever do activities and events at the actual Cineplex locations?
We do, actually, and that was one of the sort of the founding reasons for the original acquisition from Cineplex. As an entertainment company, the mandate is always to broaden the user base and find new and innovative ways to put bums in seats and to bring in new youthful audiences. We're all targeting the millennial and Gen Z audiences. We fit within that demographic to some degree. At least I'm right on the cusp between the Gen X and the millennial. And esports obviously has become a global phenomenon where more and more people are going to watch it as spectators. So that was the capitalizing on the fact that Cineplex owns 165 brick and mortar theaters, each with 10 or 15 screens and individual theaters within. What a better opportunity. There's no better opportunity than to utilize those existing facilities for these events.
Yeah, otherwise you could look at churches.
Otherwise we could look at churches. We'd have to bring in folding chairs, which would be uncomfortable for me. As you know, I sit a lot. So
no, of course.
We also utilize our other venues. You may have heard you asked me earlier about Rec Room. So Rec Room is a very cool facility that we've taken advantage of because it's more of an entertainment complex. And in most of the Rec Rooms that are being built right now, if not all of them, there's a separate dedicated live event space in the back. So a stage with a sort of a pit and a seating area and a multi-purpose, food and drink area that you could run a concert or an esports competition. And this past year, in conjunction with the NFL and EA, we ran the first ever Canadian Championships for Madden. And that will become an annual program for us in conjunction with the NFL. Starting this August, we're going to launch Madden 19 with NFL, with EA, and make it a national program.
It's amazing.
Really cool.
I recently read an article in Wired magazine that the reporter went down and went to the house where pro gamers lived.
Yep.
And he covered what their lifestyle was like, the training regime they went through, and the competitions they were going into.
Okay.
Yeah, I just found it fascinating discovering this world of professional gamers.
Well, it's funny. It's a lot like living in res in university or college. These gamers who are teenagers and sometimes late in their late 20s, they're living together in large groups because professional sports teams, esports teams, for the most part, don't just play in one game. Yeah. And players in esports very rarely do they ever compete in different games or different genres. So if you're a shooter, you play in shooters. If you're a fighter, you play in fighters. And esports teams will often have to have competitors for each game or each genre. So you may have 15 or 20 or 25 players on one particular team, albeit they're all playing different games. And in many cases, you're living under one roof. In games like Call of Duty, like the Team Optics of the world and the more well-known teams, they're tightly knit crews, and they, for the most part, they focus on their specific game. With Overwatch League, the Overwatch teams that I talked about in my presentation today, they're mostly focusing on Overwatch, so it will be a smaller group.
Yeah, the Wired article covered Overwatch team. Yeah.
NBA E-League that's launching in the upcoming season. Toronto Raptors have a team, the Raptors Uprising. Excited to be doing some work with MLSC around that and doing some programming to bring in the Raptors fan base online. They will have squads of 5 plus a sub and a backup training. We're actually working on an event with MLSC where the winning team essentially gets the opportunity to be the official practice squad for the Raptors Uprising. They won't live in the gaming house, but they'll be in Toronto and be local and be part of all the training.
So do you guys have houses then as part of this?
Within the WorldGaming ecosystem, no, we don't own any teams. We bring the teams into our ecosystem.
That's awesome.
So the ecosystem consists of game publishers who are making the games and selling the games. EA would be a great example.
Based in BC.
They're based out of Seattle.
Are they? Who's in BC there?
It's close enough. We'll just say BC.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
They have a really cool facility. I'll give you that one.
They have a cool facility in. In BC.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have a cool facility.
Well, they have a cool facility there.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. They have an office in BC.
Let's just say out west.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
So now we're both on the same page. EA from out west. They'll publish a game like Madden.
Yeah.
Now, not only do they make the game, but they actually created the league called Madden MCS, Madden Challenge Series.
Okay.
So then top Madden players who buy the game will now compete in a league that's owned by EA.
Interesting.
And all the licensing will flow through the NFL. What we do is we'll facilitate nationally broadcast and participated in events, specifically the Canadian Championship Series, where Canadian Madden players can compete. And because of the relationship that we have with EA on a variety of different titles, a long-standing relationship, great partner, very similar to the relationship we have with Activision and Riot, the winning individual or winning teams in some cases will get an opportunity to get an automatic seed into the pro circuit.
That's amazing.
So we become the official qualifying stepping stone for Canadians.
And is there a better way to reach teenagers, especially I imagine teenage males in Canada, than working with you guys?
I don't know if there is, because our audience.
I'm trying to think about it.
Our audience is quite vast, and we leverage great partnerships with some certain broadcasters, one of which being Twitch.
Yep.
And everyone knows what Twitch is. For those that don't, it's an online streaming platform, mostly focused around video games. They do have one subgenre called IRL, or in real life, where you can watch a gamer make craft dinner or brush their teeth. Yeah. Usually they are involved in gaming.
You can sponsor them, right? Money.
And you can donate to them and sponsor them. They're called influencers or streamers, and these guys and girls will, some of them make quite a decent income. I'll use the word decent to be a bit coy on the subject. But the interesting thing about the Twitch audience, which is where our WorldGaming audience consumes our broadcasted content, globally, they have a larger viewer base than Netflix, HBO, and ESPN combined.
Wow. But you don't, those that aren't gamers or talk about gaming don't often hear about Twitch in this world.
That's exactly it. Truthfully, it is a platform designed to play, interact, and discuss esports.
And it's much like when people talk about social media, they often leave out like Quora and Reddit because it's these sub-communities, but they're massive and have a massively engaged audience.
Well, it's interesting because we talk about Reddit a lot. You know, when our content makes it to Reddit or an event that we run is discussed on Reddit, it's big news.
Oh, yeah.
And for those that use Reddit, go to it and they think, this site can't actually be active still. It looks like it was built in 1991. It's a very basic format, but it is like Twitch. When you watch a Twitch stream, you actually have what's called a Twitch chat, and you can interact with other gamers from around the globe who are watching that same video stream. They're hyper engaged, and Reddit users are hyper engaged. And for those in the gaming community specifically, use that platform to voice concerns, to share information, to share positives and negatives. And for us to be involved with that in that particular ecosystem just really validates what we're doing because we are discussed in these platforms.
Well, it's probably like, and someone who goes to Craigslist, you know, and much like Reddit, Craigslist looks like such a basic site, but it is probably one of the most powerful tools for selling.
It does look very basic. I often think it's shut down when I go to it, and I click off quickly.
Okay, but no, and I'm hearing more Kijiji's being talked about here, and Kijiji's trying to fight for the market share, but in Vancouver at least.
I use Kijiji.
Yeah, in Vancouver, you use Craigslist, but if you're
out west.
But Calgarian friends use only Kijiji. They never use Craigslist.
Is that because of their local marketing initiatives? Is that how they've branched out?
I'm not sure. I would love to know the source of why certain cities are in love with one or the other.
It's interesting. I first heard about Kijiji from my uncle Bob, believe it or not. And I was in university, and I was talking about buying my first set of golf clubs. And he said, you should check out this thing called Kijiji. He was ahead of his time, clearly. And but I've been the application's actually really cool.
But what if he said Craigslist? Maybe maybe he was the impetus. Maybe he's the reason Kijiji's so big, Uncle Bob.
I believe Uncle Bob had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Because I think I was using Craigslist and I said I can't find anything on Craigslist.
Oh.
And I felt for the most part there's a lot of dodgy things happening. You know, you get those odd messages or those odd posts that you see on Craigslist. I didn't encounter the same sort of challenges or interesting behavior on Kijiji specifically.
That's great.
A bit of a safer space for me anyways.
Okay. So, looking at 2018, where do you see what you're doing is going? Do you just continue to see it growing, or what are some things that we should be looking for in the gaming world?
In Canada or beyond?
Canada.
In Canada, I think the interesting things to keep an eye out for in Canada specifically would obviously be what's happening within the pro league circuit. I mean, E-League around the NBA, obviously because the Toronto Raptors are a national team. I think that there's going to be a lot of attention drawn towards Raptors Uprising. As Canadians, we consume a lot of American content. Overwatch League has definitely made its mark. Twitch being an unfiltered engine that broadcasts content around the world without any obstruction. You don't need a specific regional licensing fee. You don't need to have a contract with your telecommunications provider. You need internet, of course, but for the most part, we can consume everything happening in the United States. And as they start to prove that model out, where Overwatch League becomes more and more like a traditional sports league, like the NHL or the NBA, I think you're going to see a larger footprint here in Canada. Now, the interesting thing is that right now, as we talked about EA and we talked about Activision, these game publishers are starting to own a lot more of their IPs, league play. You know, Overwatch League being an example. Activision owns the IP, but they also own the league. We fit in. We have a unique value proposition in this particular ecosystem, as I described briefly earlier. Many people ask us, well, how do you compete with a publisher when they own the league, when they own their own events?
But they don't have venue spaces.
Well, they figure it out. I mean, in many cases, they're filling small arenas. But what they don't have, and what there's the biggest gap in the sports industry, and if you remember anything that I say in this interview, I hope you remember this one thing, and I'm saying that to our audience, is that just like the NHL, just like the NBA, what fuels the actual competitor base? The D-League, the E-League. You've got the Raptors 905 team. You've got the OHL, the NHL. There are all of these lower divisions.
WHL.
The WHL. There are all these lower divisions that will essentially power and provide a new crop of competitors. And esports right now is lacking in that. There's no organized infrastructure outside of really what we're doing to nurture gamers from an amateur level, to provide them a pathway, a forum to compete using a professional foundation, and then to qualify onto those professional leagues. You know, if you're a gamer right now and you want to compete with a team, you've got to find a team online, you've got to get some sort of representation or sponsorship or whatever, but where do you play? Where do you play if you're a brand new team? Well, the Canadian Championship Series and what we're doing with WorldGaming and Cineplex allows you to do that. You can, for free, most of the time, compete in our events, and you'll get national exposure, which in many cases can be a stepping stone to that international stage.
It's amazing. And if someone's a brand that wants to reach teenagers in Canada, who do they go to? Do they go to you and say, come up with a creative partnership or an ad?
You know, that's interesting because what I essentially do, in addition to understanding the world of esports, I have to understand the needs of marketers and agencies and brands. And so a big part of my role is developing custom campaigns and strategies around helping a brand achieve its objectives. The objective is reaching a particular age demographic or a particular genre. We can help build that for them in a custom way, whether it be tapping into an existing event that we're doing. Say we have game X, Y, and Z. You know, we've got a Rocket League event coming up. This demographic skews as low as 11 years old. It would be a perfect fit for your brand. Or the brand comes to us and says, we really want to be in this space, in mobile. Maybe we don't have a mobile tournament, but we have the resources to build that program from scratch for that brand.
Clash of Clans, Clash Royale,
Clash Royale.
Those competitions eventually?
It is something that we're in discussion with right now. Can't share too much, but mobile is a huge opportunity for us. We've got a very exciting partnership that's blossoming with a notable telecommunications company. So we're looking forward to things to come. Can't share too much yet, but certainly.
I will admit my son is 11 and got me onto Clash of Clans.
I would never believe you have a son who's 11 years old.
And I got addicted, and then I've actually watched, I guess it's in, I don't know, Sweden or somewhere in Europe where they actually have live competitions.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Guys, and it's incredible to watch because they're quick 3-minute games. And I know the game, and I feel the exhilaration as they build their deck and they compete against each other.
It's phenomenal.
So do you partner then with like Nintendo or Sony PlayStation, or do you deal directly with the people who make the games versus the platforms?
It's interesting you say that. We've had some long-standing relationships. Of course, when you want to run a particular event, you need the game, but you also need the platform. And our relationships with PlayStation and Xbox and many PC manufacturers such as Asus, they run deep. And they're long-standing. Some relationships have stretched, over longer periods of time, where maybe one particular platform has exclusivity for a period of time. In some cases, and moving forward, what we're really trying to do is be as open source as possible, where we can bring on as many different types of games across as many platforms as possible without any restrictions that prevent us from doing that. There's a lot of exciting things happening with Xbox, PlayStation, as well as Nintendo. And Nintendo Switch, for the first time, Nintendo in forever, you might be able to play outside of a LAN event. You might be able to play online, and Splatoon and some other games that they're starting to come out with. So we certainly have great relationships with those console providers and PC manufacturers, and they are integral to the production of our events. And we always want to make sure that we are true to form, meaning that one of the big points I made in my presentation earlier is I left 4 key points behind, but one was be authentic. Don't try to fit a circle peg through a square hole or square peg through a circle hole. If the community of a particular game is playing on one platform, we want to entertain that as best we can. But if we can be neutral and offer it on both, I'll give you an example. We're running an event right now with the NHL and NHL 18. It's actually, believe it or not, it's a charity event for the Philadelphia Flyers organization, Snyder Hockey. So the youth organization will benefit from a big portion of the revenue that's been generated. With that particular event, our partner and sponsor on the event is Xbox. But as a means of reaching the largest NHL gaming community possible, they gave us their blessing to run the event on both PlayStation and Xbox and have 2 separate tournaments. Now the winners from both of those tournaments will get an opportunity to play in a celebrity show match in Philadelphia, just outside of Wells Fargo Arena at Xfinity Live, and they'll be playing against former Philadelphia pros in a 3v3. And each team will have a student from the Youth Foundation. But that match, that celebrity show match, will be played exclusively on Xbox.
But also Xbox probably wants to reach some PlayStation people, and
I think there's probably something to gain from that as well. But I mean, as far as the community is concerned, what better way to generate goodwill as a manufacturer than to say, let everyone play, and we're just going to provide you a great experience and prove to you that our experience is best.
Okay. So you mentioned a lot of games like Overwatch and NHL 18 and these other games. Question for you: will you ever do a tournament for people of my age who grew up playing Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo, and I was really good at that?
Well, you don't look a day over 24, so I'm not sure how old you really are.
But I'm 36.
Okay.
So born in '81.
Okay.
So but Mario Kart was my jam. So it'd be an interesting demo to reach 30-year-olds who grew up playing older games and do kind of like an old school gamer
retro gaming.
Retro gaming night. Would you guys ever do that?
I think that is a phenomenal idea.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
If you've ever been to the Rec Room down on Bremner.
I've not been yet. No.
Okay, so we have a life-size 4-kart.
No, Mario Kart.
HD Mario Kart.
No. Which tracks though?
Everyone you want. Rainbow.
What?
You name it.
Not Rainbow Road.
You can make
Rainbow Road is freaky though, and you always fall off the
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But there is a lineup outside of that particular machine pretty much all day long.
Shoot. So how can I do that?
And they have leaderboards as well.
Wow.
So I mean that's one example.
Incredible.
I think to get your Mario Kart fix, you should it's just over here.
I think we have to go.
Just take a walk down there. I can get you maybe a wristband.
Yeah.
Because everything's RFID. You just swipe to play.
Oh wow.
It's very cool. But in terms of running an actual event, I think that there's certainly an appetite for it, and I believe that you might be the perfect spokesperson or influencer, as we like to say, to help promote this in Toronto.
Yeah, I got a few handful of followers on Instagram. I'm pretty.
Well, if you're interested, I think that you would be the name and perhaps the face of this operation.
That's awesome. A little retro style.
Okay, deal?
We can wear
Handshake?
we can wear 80s clothing.
You saw it here.
Oh, I could wear a hypercolor shirt. Remember the hypercolor shirts?
I love
you
it.
put your hand on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that.
Yeah. So anything else you want to leave viewers and watchers of the Marketing Jam show?
I'll leave you with the 4 sort of overarching lessons that I left the group with earlier today. Number 1 is be authentic.
Yep.
Number 2 is fan experience, and your audience is key, if not the most important element of esports, more than the actual gameplay itself.
Okay.
Number 3 is rely on influencers.
Yep.
Not only are influencers an incredibly useful way to reach an audience, often 1,000 times greater than your own brands, a much more cost-effective way to acquire users and spread your message. And the last one is focus on professional quality activations. If you're going to attach your brand to a particular event or team or season, make sure that the community respects that particular operation as being authentic and professional and delivering the experience in the way that you expect at the pro level. And what I mean by that is that if you go to an NHL hockey game, the game is played in a certain way. The rules are set in a certain way. The ice is a certain size. If you then go to an OHL game the next weekend, you expect the same game. You may have a smaller arena, you may have less fans, but the game is still the game. And if you deviate from the authenticity of the game, then you're likely doomed to fail.
Okay. Are you playing any games on your mobile device right now?
I am proud to say I am a huge Real Racing buff. It's an EA driving game. And
You've been playing on the Apple TV even.
I've never been to a NASCAR event in my life, but I love NASCAR on Real Racing.
Do you play it on your iPhone or?
On my iPhone.
iPhone, okay.
On my iPhone 8 Plus, so I feel like I'm.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, I'm in the zone, man.
That's awesome.
As they say.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it.
We're here at
Thank
DX3 Marketing Jam, learning about where the future of pro sports gaming or esports. Is that what you call it? E-gaming? What do you call it?
So interesting.
Yeah, help us out here.
The term is esports.
Esports.
Potentially competitive gaming. If you're speaking about sports titles specifically, the Maddens, the NHLs, the NBA 2Ks.
But Overwatch. Esports?
Esports, never e-gaming.
Yeah, don't say e-game.
You will learn soon enough, Grasshopper.
We're learning here. So, and that's why we're here. That's why you're listening, and hope you enjoyed this episode of Marketing Jam.